everybody. Welcome to the training, learning, and development community. Thanks for joining us. We've got another community member showcase going on today. So happy to have as our guest Rachel Chaeyeon Lee. And Rachel is kind of a newer instructional designer, has a really interesting background. We're going to get to all of that in just a little bit. Before we get started, I want to remind you that on Friday, day after tomorrow, we have a really incredible virtual event happening. It's called The Road to L&D, Teaching to Instructional Design. I've got about, I don't know, last I checked, there were over 500 people registered. I didn't think we were going to get more than like 200, but it's sort of crazy. So big audience for that one. Should be a really great full day of content about going from being a teacher to an instructional designer. Rachel, is that something you're going to go to?
Oh, actually, I will think about it. Yes, I'm working on Friday, but
You're working that day. If you
yeah.
sign up for it, you get the recordings. It's free, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just going to be great. So, so check it out if you can. And before we get going, let's see who we got in there. Carlita is here. Yeah, Vanessa, nice to see you. Nicole, Connie, thanks for joining us. All right, so you guys probably know how this works. I've got about 10 questions, maybe 30 minutes. We're going to learn more about Rachel, and I want all of you to connect with Rachel on LinkedIn or wherever you can find her on social media. Let me go ahead and post that here. Rachel also has a great website, which I neglected to put in the I don't have the link handy, but I'll make sure that we get
Oh,
that in there because I really liked your website too, Rachel. You
thank
did a
you.
great job
Well,
with that.
actually, I have it with me. I bookmarked myself, so here you go.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
So let me get started with the very basic thing. So your journey into learning and development. Where did that start?
Yeah, so I graduated with my bachelor's degree in education, and I was a teacher for 2 years. So just like your tomorrow's or in 2 days, you have the podcast for journey to go through L&D from teaching. That's exactly what I did. So I started my teaching in 2019 and taught for 2 years in the elementary school setting in Virginia. And then the COVID hit, and there were a lot of things that I wish that I would avoid in teaching. So I wanted to move to another field, and that's when I just searched from the internet. And that's how I found this community, a lot of YouTube channel, a lot of LinkedIn, a lot of influencer, I would say. And I signed up for one of the graduate school. I don't know, because I was in the public school setting. I just love school. That's why I found my teaching job. So that's kind of like the reason why I went back to my graduate school degree, because I'm a strong believer of getting a degree. So there
Mhm.
you go. Because you don't technically have to go to graduate school, but I wanted that solid education and a degree at the end if I'm going to spend my time and effort in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So while I was going through my graduate school, I was still teaching, and last year, 2021 May, I moved that hub. So I finished my school year. I wanted to finish it, although it was quite tough during COVID, right?
Yeah.
And then um, right before hopping, I got my corporate training job in Baltimore, Maryland. So that was my first L&D type of job in the corporate setting out of the classroom. So I would call it like a bigger job, because teaching, I felt like I was still in school, if that makes sense, although it was
Mhm.
my job. So I was in that corporate setting for about 2 months, but I could talk to you guys later. But I made another hop in 2 months to get the instructional design role that I have right now, and I've been an instructional designer for 4 months.
Wow,
Yes.
congratulations. So, one of the things though that I think is really interesting about you is you still also have like your own company, Thinking Turtles, where
Yes.
you are still working with kids and teaching kids, as well as working as an instructional designer right now, right?
Yes.
So
It is.
is that difficult being able to, I mean, having to work both? Are there any challenges you have or benefits to doing both at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Well, about thinking turtle, thank you for mentioning that. I would love to talk about it. It's my baby. Uh, I've been tutoring and was in the teaching field for about 6 years, beginning my if I think about my college year, I started tutoring since freshman, and I just love this tutoring environment. I think tutoring has everything that I want and not have things that I don't want. What I
Mhm.
didn't want was grading, planning every night, not having that work-life balance, having to go through all those protocols that the public school will have on you, a lot of things on your plate. But when I do tutoring with one-on-one, I just focus on one kid and I know exactly what this kid needs, what this kid knows how to do, and I have a lot more control on what I want to teach. It's just
Yeah.
like homeschooling, but they're not my technical kids. So
Yeah.
I love this side hustle. And one of my resolution for this year was to expand that business and try to have writing class in group setting.
Mhm.
I just wanted to have more crowd to see how it goes, and my actual writing class is starting next week on Monday, so I'm very pumped. I already know how to teach in groups, but I have never done it by myself. I recruited parents, I made planning, I found all the books that I want to teach, I found materials, I did all those sorts of stuff by myself, which is a lot, but I loved it. I love
Yeah.
doing my side hustle. Yeah.
I'm just curious, has your experience or just your education that's led you to being an instructional designer, do you think that it made you a better teacher?
Definitely yes,
Yeah.
because in terms of instructor design literally is about how to design instruction.
Yeah.
And as a classroom teacher in my county, I was handed the curriculum of what to teach. Although they didn't tell me how to teach, I had things to teach. But when I'm doing tutoring, when I'm making my private lessons, nobody really tells me what to teach. I have to find that. I have to find what is the most important thing that I have to educate these children. And my client is usually Korean Americans because I speak fluent Korean, and that's the population that I want to serve. I know their struggle as an immigrant because they don't have enough vocabulary, they don't have enough exposure to English. So those stuff that I want to really focus at because they don't really get this from their parents or school.
Yeah.
So I have all these things that I need, and I'm thinking add model in my head because I analyze what they need, I design, I instruct them, and I also do the evaluation phase so that I can do this all over again. So I do use all those learning theories that I learned from graduate school. So
Wow,
definitely,
that's really, really interesting. That's an interesting path. I haven't heard of that very much within this space of people that are doing both, but it sounds like it's really benefiting you. And that uniqueness can really work to your advantage, I think, if you just keep on pursuing that and sticking with it. So,
yeah.
kudos to you. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
So, before we had gone live, we were talking a little bit about the internship you did at U Bloom.
Hmm.
Right? Can you talk about that a little bit? So you left, you just wanted to gain some experience, so you took on that internship. Talk about that a little bit because I think that's something that's really, really important that you should mention.
Of course. So I'm sure some other fellow teachers who wants to make the hop might be listening, just like any of the teachers who want to move and get in the step to the door. I needed experience. Teaching job itself, yes, you could make it work as if like it is an instructional design experience, which is true. As a teacher, you design instruction, you know what to do, you know how to deliver a lesson, you know what makes a good lesson or not, you know what learning objectives are. You have all those foundational skills, but still, when I was interviewing, when I was trying to find that job, it was really, really hard to find a job with just a teaching experience. I have searched everything I could, from the internet of what to say. I even kind of watched my teaching title as an instructional designer from LinkedIn, but guys, it doesn't make the trick. They already know you're a classroom teacher. I'm sorry. In order for you to, or in order for me to stand out from other teachers, I needed some special experience. So that's how I ended up going to internship.org. It is usually for college students, but why not I try? Because I need an experience. So that's where I was keep searching on any type of work that I could do. I tried to search on volunteer work, nonprofit, anything. And this is the UBloom was what I found. And um, my boss really liked me, and we have worked together for about 3 months. And if I would say the workload or the type of work that I got, it was very basic. Like he gave me the title as an instructional designer, but what I was really doing was to read through their training, try to see any gaps. It was think of it as a Google Slides. I was going through Google Slides, giving them better way to present information, if that makes sense. I didn't go through Edimodo at all. It was just
Yeah.
like proofreading. But still, on my resume, I have the instructional design internship experience, and that really made me the helped me to move this and get
Yeah.
into the path.
So you think it helped with getting your with the job that you have now?
Absolutely, yes. Because
Wow.
yeah, people know when they see their resume, they know that I try something different. They know that I try to stand out and learn more. So it's really helpful.
I also want to mention you had said earlier before we went live that for you Bloom you were doing just about 5 hours a week, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But looks like you did that for March, April, May, June, so 3 or 4 months.
Mhm. So
Interesting.
that does make a difference because on the organization side, they are getting help that they want, and it was an unpaid internship. So to let you know, guys, because I was not doing this for compensation at all. I needed that experience on my resume,
Yeah.
so I got what I wanted. They got what they wanted, so it all worked out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So there are conversations that I have been seeing from hiring managers that talk about, your resume and your portfolio, that's fine, that's okay, but what we really want is we want to see experience. That is the most important thing. And I know that's something that they're probably going to cover on Friday's event, but what do you say about that? Do you think that that's accurate? That probably the most
Absolutely.
important thing you had, could put into your resume is experience.
Absolutely. And I would also want to mention that after my experience with UBloom, I switched to, well, I was actually got the opportunity to be a training specialist for 2 months. It was so short that I didn't really put it on my LinkedIn. Um, but while I was working there, I tried to really get the instruction designer position, and me being as a training specialist was so helpful for me to make that hop, if that makes sense. Me
Mhm.
as a teacher to become an instruction designer was so much harder than me being a training specialist and then move to instruction designer. I got so
Mm,
much more offer, so much more interview, and actually as a training specialist, I was doing the instruction design work. I was making instruction, making videos, so I had much more experience in that field. So that really led me to get the better position.
that's great. Okay, that makes sense. That's actually a really, really good tip.
Hmm.
So, are there anything specific that you wish you had known, like when you had started out in your career? If you could make any changes, like shift a few things, shortcuts, is there anything that you can offer about that?
Absolutely. So, as you could tell, I really did everything that I could. Um, I searched for the internet. I searched so many things. I hired some people to get through my portfolio. I did everything I could, but what I missed was to prepare for interviews. I know that's like one of the things you have to do, but now I think about it, I missed so much opportunity because I was saying not the best thing when they're asking me questions. For example, they would ask you, why do you want to make the switch? And I don't know why, but I kind of mentioned about, the work life experience and compensation that I have from teachers, but that's not really what they would want to hear, if that makes sense. You like we as a teacher really have to make it frame like we want this job because we like the role, and you have to brand yourself that you're an instructional designer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So interview preps, I think it is really crucial to bring your interview answers
Mhm.
and show it to somebody else.
Mhm.
I was too shy to do that, but because I was struggling, I showed it to my brother, I showed it to my family, my friends, and they can point out, because if I put it in my head and think about it myself, you wouldn't catch things, because it's in your head. You have to talk to someone, practice that interview.
That's great. No, that's great. That's some great advice.
Mhm.
And then the other thing we spoke about a little bit earlier too is in your message, you just completed an online degree, a master's degree. What was that degree? And tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, so I graduated from University of Maryland Global Campus. My undergrad is University of Maryland, so I knew about the online program. It's like the building's right next to my campus, so I knew about it. And when I decided that I want the online degree, I just chose what I'm close to. I live in Maryland, so that's what I got. And the degree was on learning design and technology. I the program was 18 months long if you don't take any breaks. So I just swept it through 18 months during COVID. I got it, and what's good about it, I think I was able to really learn how to design a program. They really teach you how the adding model looks like. They make you teamwork with other classmates, which is crucial. I want to talk about that because as an instructional designer, you do not work alone. You have to meet stakeholders. You need to meet other instructional designer, training specialists. You meet so many people. I think that really helped me prepare for my actual work right now, and a lot of papers. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was great. It was a great
So it was a
experience.
positive experience.
Oh, absolutely. I think I needed that to get the job that I want, that I have right now. But I'm sure there's a controversy of whether you need a master's degree or not. But for me, it really helped me. I don't know how else I could have got it this far.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so now let's talk about your job now.
Hmm. Yes.
Um, so you're currently an instructional designer as well
Hmm.
as, doing your thing
Yes.
with Thinking Turtles, but
Yes.
what do you do now as an instructional designer?
Yes. So my company is a recruiting company, and we have recruiters, we have salesmen, we have a bunch of people who gets, make the company work, make the money. And I am in the recruiting program, and I design onboarding training for recruiters, some advanced training for recruiters. So I do everything recruiters related. I collaborate with my training specialist who actually does the teaching job, if that makes sense. Like they hold a microphone and they teach.
Yeah.
They're training specialists. But for me, I don't actually do the teaching. I kind of sit back and design the lesson with the training specialist, because the training specialists are really good at recruiting because they are teaching recruiters, but they are not so fluent with learning theories, making presentation, how to present the information the right way or the most effective way. So that's where I come in with my expertise, and I teach them learning design. I teach them, so what is the purpose of this training? What is the learning objective? I ask those critical questions to make the training possible and fluent.
Wow, that's really interesting. So are you getting some insight into the recruiting process now too?
Absolutely. But if somebody tells me go recruit, I don't think I could do it. It's a tough job, but I know it in theory how to recruit. Yes.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
And so what do you enjoy most right now about what you do?
Yes. So what I most enjoy is talking to my training specialist to actually make the training possible.
Mhm.
As you can imagine, there are a lot of conversations because we're making something from nothing because it's all in our head first. Oh, we might need to make this training. And throughout the months, with the conversation with so many people, we slowly sculpt the training and make the program possible. And I like the creation. I think I have the designer side of my in my heart. I like the
Mm,
designing process. I
mhm.
like the conversation. And another thing I really like is actually going to your computer and design the courses, like using Articulate 360, using Rise course. I design and make the presentation nice and neat,
Mhm.
and it's so satisfying when you do it. I really like that part of my
Wow,
job.
so you're kind of a little bit of an e-learning nerd.
Yes, I wish I learned more and make the Articulate 360 more articulate.
Mhm.
We do have some e-learning developers who like particularly knows how to do Articulate 360. And sometimes I get their working files and I don't know what to do. It's like
Yeah,
really advanced, but me, a little bit of rookie, but I could make it.
yeah.
I'm more on a Rise course side for now.
Wow. Okay. All right. No, that's great. That's really interesting. And it just totally seems like you're passionate too about what you do. You seem really energetic when you talk about this. So it's really nice to hear that. So how do you stay on top of your professional development?
Yes, I'm in this community
Yeah.
and I was recently graduated from the graduate school, so that's how I kind of kept myself on top.
Hmm.
And I think one of the best way to continue your education is to choose the right company to work with because my company compensates around like $1,000 a year for me to go for conference or any type of
Ooh.
professional development you want to take, and I get reimbursed. So I was
Mhm.
able to take this paid Adobe InDesign course last year for like 3 days, and I got paid as a workday, and I was able to use that time to take the paid course. I was so happy to be like learning a new skill
Mhm.
because my job requires quite a bit of Adobe work now. So I
Mhm.
needed that boost. So I got that. And this year, I'm searching around, shopping around to see what other courses I can get.
Yeah.
And that's how I keep myself updated.
What do you want to learn right now? What's something that's on the top of your
Ooh,
list?
like we talked about, I really like the e-learning development type of the work. So maybe Articulate 360. I also like making things looks nice and neat and trendy. So
Mhm.
I really like graphic design part of Instructor Design as well. So I'm still thinking about it, and I want to use it wisely, and I have the whole year, so we'll
Nice.
see.
No, that's great. That's great. So now tell me this. Is there anything about your work that is particularly challenging for you? Something that might be, that might be harder for you to do? Is there anything you can talk about there?
Yes. So, I never knew about this part of my job that I would have to deal with it. But one of the things that I wish I could do better is consulting because when you get an inquiry about making a program, so for example, you have a stakeholder and this person is one of the leaders in the organization and they find a gap like, oh, my people don't know how to do this. Then they're going to come to you, training development, and they're going to want to consult and talk through to see what we can do as a learning and development team. And during that moment, I have to know what to ask for. I need to be able to talk to stakeholder. And that's one of the things that I was like, whew, it kind of makes me nervous because sometimes it's not one-on-one. It could be like 9 people and myself. It could be so many people that you've never met and they're in the leadership or director roles.
Mhm.
So, whew, I kind of need help with, being positive and own that thing because I am sitting there as an expert.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm talking to these like three managers that I've never met.
Yeah.
So that's kind of struggling.
No, that's great. Thanks for sharing that with us. It seems like I saw that you kind of did some mentoring
Hmm.
for younger people.
Hmm.
Is that something that you're interested in doing too, or do you even have any mentors in this space now that you kind of go to? Is that something you're
Mm.
looking for?
Yeah, I think my current mentor is my coworkers because they're amazing. They know the field much better. Before I get this job, I needed some people who were already in the field to give me advice. So what I did was I actually searched people from LinkedIn, like what the internet will say. Find people from LinkedIn. I gave them really nice and kind message. I asked them for 10-minute call, and a lot of people were actually willing to give you a call and talk to you. And it was such an amazing experience. I got few Zoom meetings. I got few phone calls. They were also nice people. I'm still connected with them through LinkedIn. It's a great. It's one of the greatest experience, and they give you so much good insight.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's one of the things about this particular space I think that I really enjoy is I think teachers, generally are very generous anyway.
Mhm.
And they want to help other people. They want to share knowledge. That's just kind of how they're wired. So it's kind of nice to be here. And because I don't think that I could do like these kinds of broadcasts with, a bunch of pharmacists or something that wouldn't work. But with people that are educators, everyone's pretty much willing to participate and share. And so,
Mhm.
you're totally right. You're totally right. So, what keeps you inspired? It sounds like you've really got an incredible career ahead of you, but what keeps you going?
Um, I I really see what I could do next. Like as a teacher, it was really hard to see career growth, if that makes sense. But when I am in
Mm,
this field, I can be a senior instructional designer. I can go beyond that and be a manager of learning and development. I could learn more about graphic design and go through that path. I could learn about more Articulate 360 and be an e-learning developer. There's so many paths I could still make,
mhm,
and I could be a freelancer. I could find another job in corporate. Like there's endless opportunities once you put your step in the door. That's the hard part. But once you're in there, you're you're like surrounded with all those great people with more experience than you.
mhm,
And maybe in the future, I might want to learn more about graphic design and be a marketing team. Like there, you really don't know
mhm.
what path you can go next, and I think that's really inspiring.
That is great. It's that sounds so positive, and it's actually really motivating too. That's I'm so glad that you see that. So, but if you weren't an L&D professional, say you weren't even an educator or a teacher, what do you
Hmm.
think that you'd be?
Ah, that's so hard because in my heart, I wanted to be a teacher since the beginning.
Mhm.
The- Maybe I might have gone through nursing school because my parents wanted that.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have any passion on teaching, and maybe, but I'm really passionate for learning. I think it's because I have like younger siblings and cousins since I was little. I loved teaching and guiding younger people.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, I can tell that you are a passionate educator, and I have talked to hundreds of L&D professionals, and I can safely say that you are definitely on the right track. It's going to be exciting to watch you progress and see how well you do. You're just totally doing everything right. So congratulations, and I'm so glad you're part of the training, learning, and development community. And thanks so much for taking the time out and introducing yourself and talking about your career with us. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for your time and people who are listening. Thank you.
All right, Rachel. Thanks. And everybody, will see you hopefully on Friday if you can do that. And don't forget, if you're a TLDC member, we have the Writing for Instructional Design event coming up on the 28th, Friday the 28th. That one's going to be incredible. The lineup that we have is really excellent. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. You can go to thetldc.com if you want to see more information. And with that, we'll sign off. Rachel, thanks again. And we'll
Bye-bye.
see everybody later. Bye.